someone invested in something beyond what they believed valuable before, maybe even they didn't even know it existed before, right? And that they invested in a way in themselves where they believed they were worthy of a certain amount of investment that may have gone to whatever shit on Amazon, a child's college education, a new car. I mean, it could go anywhere. Hey, this is Kate Stillman with the Wellness Pro Academy podcast, which I think we're going to rename to the Well Pro Show. And I'm here with Joanna Sapir.
Yes.
And her website is JoannaSapir.com. And we're going to talk about the importance of a sales process for wellness pros. Because many people who, become a yoga teacher, become a yoga studio owner, become a gym owner, become a personal trainer, who become a CrossFit manager, who become a functional medicine doctor or a psychotherapist. You're often not taught in a sales process, but you may have clicked on some things on your Instagram feed or your Facebook feed, and that's just aging the older ones, but the younger ones, Instagram or TikTok, or maybe for the sophisticated ones, even in LinkedIn, and you've been like sold some sort of thing about how to grow your business, but you still don't have a sales process. Well, this one's for you.
Nice. What a perfect intro.
Yeah. Where should we start?
I think we should start by talking about what the heck is a sales process, because that's what I think.
Should we start with having something to sell? Maybe we should start with having something to sell. Having something we're selling. Let's start there. Let's start with the offer.
Okay.
Because if you don't have an offer, you don't know what you're selling, right? So then what's the sales process for?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll jump in and say, in all those fields that you mentioned, which is who you work with and who I work with, the standard in in those industries in health and wellness is you sell a session, right? You sell a session.
Or a retreat or a course.
Or a class. Yeah.
Or a class.
Yeah. But let's take, you started with yoga.
Or a punch card.
Right.
Which of the punch card
being like a pack of sessions or something.
Or a book. Might sell a book.
Yeah.
Or a group of supplements.
I have no problem with someone selling a book. I wanted to kind of dive into critiquing the selling a session, or selling a class. But
to me, that's all the same. All of that. Everything I just listed is the same thing. It's not an offer. It's not an offer in what we're talking about. It's just a thing. It's a thing. And the thing doesn't get you to it doesn't get the lead to the desired end result. It may be a tiny piece of it.
Exactly. So for a therapist of any sort, physical therapist, psychotherapist, yoga therapist, functional medicine therapist, whatever, if you're selling sessions, you may be doing okay because you don't need a sales process. And I shouldn't say doing okay, like you sell some sessions here and there, but how's that actually working for your business, right? Is it getting you high quality committed clients? Are you actually serving them as powerfully as you can? Are they getting, the most amazing results and talking about you? And do you have steady, predictable income? And pretty much the answer is always no when it's just that single thing, Yeah.
And where I go with that is really the fourth one you mentioned is the most important. It's like, is your offer packaged for your clients to hit amazing results within a specified period of time? And if not, that's on you, not on them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so so we started by talking about sales process, and I don't know if you want to go there yet, but usually the first step is, what's that offer and how are you going to do that? But then people don't know how to sell that, right?
But now let's stay here for a minute, because some people are already thinking like, no, I kind of know what I'm selling. And it's like, okay, good. And to me, then it's like, what's the upsell? And if you don't have an upsell, then you don't really have a business that is leverageable with impact, meaning you can't lead from your lifestyle, which means you'll trade more of your time for money.
Right.
So if we go into how do I make the most positive impact within a set period of time, preferably on the shorter time horizon, which for me, short is like a year or two, right? That someone experiences life changing results in a year, right? Now, what does that cost? Because we don't need a sales process unless something costs some money.
Yep.
Some considerable money.
Yeah. Agreed. So I will say that with my clients anyway, I love that you're like minimum a year. My program is a year, and that's minimum. And then people graduate from that and go into like multi-year kind of inner circle after that. However, with many of the clients I work with, they might have something that looks more like a shorter front end kind of thing. So I work with a lot of, I don't know about you, but I work with a lot of in-person practitioners. And so they may be, like I said, a body worker, physical therapist type. And somebody's coming to them with an acute injury, or it's a chronic injury and it's flared up right now. Right. And so they might have a front end offer that's a program to let's figure out what the root of this is. Let's address that and get you out of pain. And then there's a back end offer of some sort that is, ongoing like this. These are active people. And so let's keep you healthy and mobile and functional forever after. Right. And it kind of goes on after that. So just to kind of point out different ways that can work.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how you lead your clients through it, but for me, it's like very individualized. It's like, let's look at who your favorite people are that get the best results from your services that you love working with.
Yeah.
And let's take some of those and kind of retroactively look back and go, what did they need from day one, right? What would have given them the results they wanted and needed, right from the beginning, rather than this like session by session, month by month, seeing how it goes kind of thing. If you could design from the beginning, what would you be giving them,
Yeah.
And what they need to do, of course.
Right. So it's like, let's pause and reverse engineer an outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
So what we've found is the club model accelerates clients to results and leverages the Wellness Pro to lead from their lifestyle. And so because the offer is a club membership and it's based on the Wellness Pro's convictions, it causes the Wellness Pro to lean into their integrity. Right? So it's like, what are my convictions? And then what are the habits that reinforce my convictions, that like back up my convictions? Like, what are the habits? And then what's the vibe? So every unique individual has their own vibe. Like my vibe is, somewhere around the, meta thinker. It's somewhere around the, oriented towards deep questioning, which lands in primal habits. So not really afraid of being taboo. So we're deeply in the taboo and Club Thrive and loving it. And it's very much a innovator. So I have this sort of like sparky, where are the biohackers in the future? Like, what are they doing right now? And that's all unique to me, right? So it's like not franchise, but every Wellness Pro has their own vibe. They have their own interests. They have their own wealth dynamic.
Yeah.
And I love the wealth dynamics personality profile for that, of like, what is your wealth dynamic? Because if you're a creator, or are you a star, or are you a supporter, or are you a mechanic? A lot of body workers are not mechanics. The good ones are. The really good ones are. And they should have a VIP club around being one of the best body mechanics in the region. To me, that's, but if you're a mechanic and you don't know you're a mechanic, you can't package to your mechanistic skills and communicate that to people who are looking for a good body mechanic.
Yeah. So I don't know, we're just kind of bouncing ideas here, or sharing ideas and sharing processes. Yeah. With my clients, some of the stuff you're talking about, I would put in the realm of branding, like who's your brand, who are you?
Yeah, I would put it right in the offer. And I would say, this is actually how you're building your offers based on your convictions, based on your habits, so that you're forced to lead from lifestyle. And then you grow, right? You actually grow a dynamic group around that so that it's lifestyle driven, because every Wellness Pro listening What they know is that their clients need lifestyle changes. They need habit changes. And that's the hardest place to get progress because their current relationships and their current ego identity is locked into who they've been. And that's the momentum that you're up against.
Yeah, well, what you're talking about, where I bring that in or help my clients bring that in is in, I call it your visual framework. And so that is everything you're talking about. It's you, but it's also translated. So it's taking like, especially if you're a multimodal practitioner, you got all these different things you bring and all this life experience that you bring, right? And like you're talking about vibe and all that.
Yeah.
And we use that all, but we also have to translate it for our clients, right? So like, how do I, especially because so many practitioners get really stuck in like the neuroscience and the very, very sciencey bits, or a lot of my clients do anyway. So like, how do we translate that? That's all you, like your translations for your people. And so we do that into a visual framework. And that is, like you're saying, where their offers come out of that. Because the framework is their big picture of this is the whole thing. But I will say we do frame it less around like this is my whole thing, and rather this is the whole thing that I believe people need to achieve XYZ.
Yeah, that my people need, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we come down to as well. It's like vibe, coming from convictions, vibe, and expertise. Yeah, good. So now that we have that, and let's say, what is the typical, actually, have you tapped into the whole club model with your members that because it's based on lifestyle habits that they need a club around their offer?
I know that you talk about club model. I just assumed that was your phrasing of it. So tell me how you define your club model.
There has to be a dynamic. What we find is like to actually accelerate client results and wellness because it's habit driven, because we know that, currently United States and United States is a ripple effect in the world. 80% of the population has chronic inflammation, and chronic inflammation is diet and lifestyle driven. And diet and lifestyle choices are driven by other people, right? That like no one's really in the driver's seat of their diet and lifestyle. It's like who they're spending time around. So the club model for us to accelerate people to results is like wellness pros need to have a club around their business, or in that's a core part of their offer. So it sounds like for you, a therapist, it's like the VIP model, right? Where there's hands-on work, right? Where there's, and that's factored in at, however many hours per client in the VIP category. But without the club, like without a group of people that are orienting around habit upgrades, that progress is really limited.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay. So it's talking about just the leverage of community and having that kind of community support. Yeah. Well, I love that because that's what I have in my business for sure.
Yeah, great.
As far as my clients, again, I don't know what you see, but it kind of depends on stage of business and then how long they work with me. So I'd say the longer people work with me, the more their businesses are growing and scaling. And part of that ends up including a community orientation. But most people, when they come to me, are solo practitioners, have never had any even assistant of support, administrative assistant, nothing. Solo practitioners who are working one-on-one with folks.
Right.
So we start with like a remodel of their business right there into a programmatic approach, right? An actual offer, containers that get their clients the best results possible, building that sales system, and then they can advance from there. Although it's interesting.
I would recommend just starting it from the get-go because their clients will hit success faster. Right? Because if what people need is community, like why hold off?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be so much learning in that. There's so much learning in like how to activate a dynamic club.
You work with, are all of your people in your membership, like all the practitioners you work with are online, doing their services online?
No. No, it's everything. We're everything. A lot of local, a lot of hybrid, some online. It's a whole mix. It always has been. I mean, we've been doing this since 2012.
Right.
Yeah. But anyways, let's talk about sales process. So let's say someone has an offer. Let's say that offer includes a community, just for the sake of the argument that it's effective to get clients to results faster and it reinforces, I can't emphasize this enough, it reinforces the wellness pro to be in integrity with their own lifestyle, to lead from lifestyle, which helps them pivot out of the adrenaline addiction, grow culture, trading dollars for hours, and really seats them into needing to uphold their convictions and activate a dynamic group so that the group can actually free up a lot of their time as the leader. Right? Because that's what happens as members lead members. Okay, so now we have an offer. Let's price it at what? 5K? What's
Sure.
a good price? 5K,
Sure.
annual membership, some VIP work. There's maybe the more VIP work, and for the body workers that are doing like really deep detox transformational stuff like Panchakarma, etc. We'll price that one at 7,500 annual. All right, now we need to sell it.
Yeah. And what's the usual go-to is I need to get myself out there and market more. And people go like blasting like or plastering their offer all over the internet or emails or everything, right? And so I think that's a probably really important concept to dive into is that marketing isn't selling. I think, and that's where we all sort of go wrong unless we've ever learned a sales process. We think that, oh, marketing is how I sell my services. If I just get myself out there and tell everybody I got this thing, it's going to give me visibility and
Right.
somehow that's going to get clients. And it just doesn't, right? Marketing is not the sales process. So
Yeah.
we're kind of like throw all this stuff out there, hope that clients come out the other end. We're missing that step in between, which is, well, how do you convert them? How do you turn any interest of their, if there are people seeing your stuff, how do you turn that interest? How do you turn leads into clients? And that's what a sales process is, right? And then the other kind of thing that, I mean, I imagine you probably see this a lot more, is the world of digital marketing. I consider it like a new gold rush, where it's like there are so many people out there saying, you need this and you need this and these funnels and and the sales pages and the copy and blah, 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 and all this stuff is all based on this kind of influencer style marketing of where a sale, the whole point that I'm getting to is where a sale is made on a sales page. That's a whole digital marketing approach, right? Like fine for products, fine for maybe your like one-time workshop kind of thing. That's not how you're going to enroll somebody in the 5K or 75K year-long membership, club.
Yeah.
So I know you know this, but conversations are how you do that. And for me anyway, I have like a sales process that I help practitioners build that has multiple steps to it. But the most important part of it is that consultation where you're actually meeting with somebody, and it's not like a casual chat. This is not like a networking chat, like, oh, how are you doing? Coffee chat. And it's not a pushy, it's not a pitching thing. You're not like pushing somebody or pitching them your thing. You're actually getting to know them and identifying, do they have the problems that I know how to solve? Does my offer meet exactly what they need, right? Is my offer designed to, is this basically exactly the fit that I built this offer for? That's what we're looking for, that match. And if it is, you're laying out for them, here's the piece, here's what I understand where you are and where you want to be. And here's the pieces that I see are missing after talking to you, right? You're actually really most of the time listening to them. You're asking them questions and listening to them. And after you have a good picture, you're laying that out for them. Here's what's missing. What's cool is that, first of all, this does convert. People join the thing. They buy the thing, they join the thing. But even if they don't, they're still walking away with value because you've laid out for them. Here are the parts that are missing for you that you need, but usually it becomes pretty obvious for them. It's like, oh, I need those things. Cool. You gave me this assessment. I get this picture. Great. And you can help me do that. Okay, here we go. So that's where it all ends. But there are other steps in the sales process. I have no idea how you do it, but I got little, things we stick in there to make it really awesome and smooth and easy. But that's the piece that so many practitioners are missing, right? It's marketing and sales, two different things. And what's fascinating is that I find that I'd say about half of people who come work with me actually never even need to do any more marketing than they're doing. And even what they're doing may be super minimal. Like it might have just been they set up some decent SEO and that's bringing them leads. They don't need to do more marketing once they learn a sales process, because even if they were only getting, 5 leads a month, which sounds like so little, but if now they have a process to filter those leads, pull out the right ones, and it turns out the conversion is like 3 out of 5 leads become like our great clients, that's it. That's 3 new clients a month, which for a program is fantastic. That can fill your program,
And so are most of your people selling one-on-one time?
When they come to me, yes. When they come. Yep.
And then, yeah, right. And I just want anyone who's selling one-on-one time to like really hear this. Right? There's like, we're in a time right now where so many people are so sick that your one-on-one time should command an absolute premium because there's no leverage in it. And so even if you're just starting out and you need your 10,000 hours or 20,000 hours to get really good at what you do, it still should command a premium.
It's also a bummer. I mean, before I got into this work, I owned a strength and conditioning gym for almost a decade and have been a like high level athlete for many years. And myself as a client, it's like as a client of body workers or functional medicine doctors or naturopaths, like it is a disservice. Like I can feel it as a disservice to me to just come in for a session. Even if you're telling me you should come in again, it's like, that's really different than knowing that you're on my team, helping me get somewhere that I've told you I want to get to, And it's like a single session is just never, ever going to do it. And even if, like I said, you're trying to rebook me each time, that's still just different. It's not like this long-term outlook. Like if I know I have a, weightlifting competition coming up, it's like, I want to know that like, okay, there's a plan, right? There's a plan to keep me totally healthy and supple before, up to that point. So it's even beyond the financial and just kind of hamster wheel life of trading your time for dollars. There's also just this issue of, are you really serving your clients the way you really could?
Yeah. And this is where the design with the end in mind, right? Like reverse engineer the outcome it's so critical on so many levels. I notice that I see world-class practitioners for body work, all over the place in Mexico, here, wherever I am. And, the idea of anyone ever just stopping and like really getting into like, where do you want to end up by when? And what's the plan? It's every practitioner I see should have an upsell. They should all have an upsell that includes a dynamic coaching group that's highly specified to those goals. It's just it's so faster. It's so efficient. That's why we teach the club model.
And I want to know there's a plan here, whether it's like there's some particular injury or not, or there's some particular problem spot or whatever. Like, what's the plan here? What needs to be done, and what's my role in this, and what's your role in this?
What are we agreeing to? So let's talk about that in pricing, because I think a lot of people underprice because they lack sales skills. Like that's in general, what I find is the better your sales skills, the more money you can exchange in the marketplace, and the more value you then can hold yourself to deliver. So you get better, you get in higher integrity. You don't have to work with as many people if you don't want to, because you might only want to go deep with a few rather than broad with many. And who knows? Some of you, like me, like to write books and do other things. So let's talk a little bit about, I find in the sales process, the higher the price point. So our clubs are like 5K to 20K, which means that we all have to be on the same page before a member is in a club. Because most people aren't just like, oh, I'll try it. Sure, it's 5K. What the heck? Most people are like doing some sort of like cost benefit analysis of like, that's 4 months of groceries, for my family, right? Or whatever, right? How is this thing going to pay? How's this going to pay off? Which requires better sales skills. So where I've sort of landed in sales and in conversational sales is what beliefs do people, your typical avatar, who's a great fit, like, because as soon as you double your prices, all of a sudden you have to get twice as good at sales. Right. Especially if you're peddling in one-on-one time.
I will just kind of put in there, in my experience and what I've seen over and over with the people that work with me, is that it tends to be easy. It's an easy general statement to make, that it tends to be easier to sell higher priced programs than lower priced programs. So it's like, it might be that there's a certain tipping point or something, that at some point, it's just like that higher price is like, oh, this must have so much value. And you're only, because we put filters in place, so you're not having conversations with people.
Yeah. So go ahead and just describe the price point and the offers.
Tell me more.
You were just saying that it's easier to sell at higher price point than lower. So just give an example of the price point and the offers that are easier for your clients to sell higher than lower, just so people have an example.
I mean, I've seen, so the thing is people price themselves properly when they work with me, but they might come to me having said, oh, I tried to create, my first program or something, and it was like something 12 weeks long and it was like $500. And it's like, then we do proper pricing and it should be 2,000, but they weren't able to sell it at 500. They just couldn't do it. It was just, it's like 500 is calling in just the wrong caliber of client, right? Whereas 2,000 to even get to them is like, okay,
right.
People who are ready, willing, and wanting to get results, right? And able to pay, willing to pay, wanting to pay. So yeah, just a simple example.
Yeah. Great. So then if we even look at the higher price points, right, where people are pressing an edge of, I haven't thought about investing like this in myself before, right?
Yes.
So when we get into those price points, what I find is, how do you build a sales process for people to change their beliefs around how they invest, so they can actually invest in the future they want to experience most and get the return on investment? That's in terms of numbers, in terms of futures that are really not even in the realm of how the person's thinking about their future.
Yeah, totally. I actually do think that those are issues that you're going to want, not that they stay out of the sales process, but you can start addressing those in your marketing.
Exactly.
So I think that that's the first place you want to put it. And ideally it means that in your sales process, you're not coming up against that at all. That somebody's not even choosing, for example, to enter your sales pipeline unless they're like, I think, even if it's big, they know that's hard and that's like, oh my goodness, but they're like, I think that something's calling me to this. Like, I think that I'm ready to do this. I think that I want to do this, I really firmly believe that, you should never feel like you're trying to convince people. Like, I really have a problem with that word convince. Like, you should not ever be in a situation where you're in a conversation with somebody and you feel like you're up against them and like arguing with them and trying to convince them. That means steps weren't done ahead of time, Yeah. So I think that's really good stuff to address in your marketing. And I will tell you, like, one of my favorite little tactics, I'll say, is that during your sales conversations, whatever they're called, whether it's some certain assessment call or an in-person assessment or a discovery call, whatever it's called, that you actually record the words, like the exact words of your prospective clients, their specific words and phrases. And because most of that consultation really should be listening, you are just there talking, right? You're asking questions, they're talking, and you're listening and you're recording this stuff. And people will tell you so much, and you get to hear exactly in their words everything that they're thinking and feeling. And so there are going to be people that, for example, talk about that transition or that journey inside themselves of, I didn't pay attention to this, or I didn't care about this before, or I went to like the cheap version or whatever. I tried this route and it didn't work. Like, whatever their journey has been to get there, you're going to hear that and record that stuff. And then you just use those exact words in your marketing. And you're going to call in more people like that. I should note, you only want to use the words of the folks who enroll and that you love working with, so be selective, because you'll just get more of exactly them. But it's just such an easy way to like understand the thought processes and how people are describing their own pains and problems and goals and desires on the journey they've been on. You just write right back to them, and you'll call in more of them, more people just like that. And so knowing that, it's funny, usually I use the word journey for the offer you're carrying them through, but knowing that journey they've been on before they get to you is so key.
Mhm.
Knowing
Yeah.
where you fit in that journey is so key. Like, where is it that you come in? Where is it that your service is like meant to enter somebody's life?
Yeah.
That's really key. It also helps you know where to focus any of your marketing how do I get to people at this point, But I do think, yeah, that issue of not ready or ready for making this kind of investment. What a great thing to talk about on, in your blog or your email newsletter or on a podcast guesting spot or wherever you are, wherever you are getting in front of people.
Yeah. I think
And tell stories of your clients too, the ones who have gone through that. Tell stories of your clients who what it took for them to make that decision and then how they made that decision and what it's like now,
yeah. Yeah. So, how are you teaching your members to overcome objections?
Well, I don't. So what I just said, like, to me, there shouldn't be, that means if there are objections, you take those and you start addressing them in your marketing ahead of time. But as far as when somebody is in the decision-making process, right, they're like on the call with you and they're not immediately like, okay, let's do this. I call it coaching to a decision. And I'm really turned off by like the idea of addressing objections as if you're supposed to counter them with something. And instead, I just keep it really open. Like, I teach my people to, what are you thinking? What's going on? What would that mean to you? Very, very coaching like questions to help them. And the thing is I want people to be 100% when they say yes, right? I don't want somebody being like entering my program or my clients to be having people entering their programs where there was any pulling involved at all, right? Like zero. This has to be totally, totally consensual. That prospective client is stepping forward and saying yes. And they might say, this definitely happens to me. They might say, this is the biggest investment I've ever made. It's really scary, but I know it's right. But that's what we want, is for them to be like all the way, like it's got to come from them. So to me, like, you can coach to a decision, but you can't make somebody do it. And you don't want to. You want them to be they're the agents of power in their own lives, right? Like we have to believe in them and their ability to make the right decisions for themselves. And sometimes, I mean, I know this happens to me. Sometimes somebody says no, and I feel really bad for them. I'm like sad for them. Do you know what I mean? That they weren't ready yet, but that's their path. I know it wasn't anything I did, it's like they were not ready there.
So, what I'm hearing is that you do overcome objections in a way that's a coaching conversation, or that's really dropping into the person's somatic experience, into their cognitive experience, into their emotional body experience. And in that, they're able to see and they're able to feel a connection and see a possibility for themselves that they might not have believed in before.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to explain that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah. And I hope everyone listening really gets that we're thinking it through. Like, what is the prospect or the lead or the potential, to me, it's potential member. What do they get to experience? How do they get to grow, including expanding their own beliefs in alignment with the future reality they want to experience most, in a codified, mapped out process that's repeatable in the sense that you can continually engineer it to get better and better.
Yeah.
Meaning to drive more value to anyone who goes through it.
Yeah.
And what I find so much in the change of beliefs because what you just described really was that someone invested in something beyond what they believed valuable before, maybe even they didn't even know it existed before, right? And that they invested in a way in themselves where they believed they were worthy of a certain amount of investment that otherwise may have gone somewhere else. It may have gone to whatever shit on Amazon, a child's college education, a new car. I mean, it could go anywhere, paying off debt. And so there's a change in, I am worth this vision that we've mapped out together for my future. And now I can part with some money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, that, as you said, that kind of codified process, that container gives them the sense, the hope, the strength, the knowing that, there is this clear, and I would say safe path here for me to get what I'm hoping to experience, what I'm hoping to experience, or achieve what I'm hoping to achieve.
And now there's shared vision, right? You have you and the client are now sharing the vision of the future,
Totally.
and that's the essence. Yeah. So the other part that I love about a sales process is that when I always reflect on, notice what you're noticing. So say you go to the store and you notice whatever, people putting non-nutrient foods in their shopping cart, or say you're walking down the street and you notice people's body posture, or say, like whatever, notice what you're noticing. You go pick your kid up at daycare and you're like, wow, the kids are chunky and they're snacking. Like, by noticing what we're noticing, that can a lot be marketing, and how you believe in what you believe. Your convictions are really easy to speak to from that place. But also in the sales process, when you have a conversation with someone who really you could help if they were in your club or in your program, and it's at a price point where you have to sell, and it's at a price point where they have to potentially believe in themselves, invest in themselves in a way they haven't before. And so you leave that conversation with I wish we had explored this more, or how could I help this person see that this would actually save them a shit ton of money in the future rather than cost them money. It's like such an invitation to improve the process, right? Because now there's a process that's improvable.
Yeah, I love that. What you're bringing up is like, none of us get it all right in business. None of us get it all right from the beginning or even ever. Like, it's always a reiteration, always learning and always reiterating. And so, yeah, that example you just gave, you're saying somebody didn't join or whatever, right? And it's like, and you wish you had explored that thing further. There's so many things you can do with that. That can be the content, again, of your next piece of writing that you have, or your next workshop or whatever, like, can be that content. You also can just write directly to that person and say, I was thinking, and I just wanted to share this little bit, as long as you're not doing it just like, again, if you feel yourself trying to pull somebody in, like something's a little bit off. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think about it as like, you're standing still. You're not leaning back. You're not like trying to pretend like you don't care. And you're not like all leaned forward, like trying to get, out of desperation, trying to get them to come to you. You're just right here. And you can still talk to them from being right here, hoping that it's lay a step in front of them to take one step forward, So that just gives you the content for your marketing. It also gives you a heads up. The next time I do a consultation, listen better, slow down, or take a pause so I hear that piece that I missed. Do you know what I mean? And skirted right by. Like, you just learn how to be better and better at it. And I will also say this is that, I think you and I both are talking about businesses that don't need hundreds and hundreds of clients to be profitable and sustainable. When these are like high level services, we don't need a whole ton of people. So it's not a lot of leads and prospects that we're having to track over the course of a year. And I just want to note that one-on-one follow-up with every single person that you've ever talked to is completely appropriate, and it's very, very caring. It's like the person who said no and didn't join, like you get to reach out to them in 4 months, 6 months and just say, like, legitimately, just want to know how you're doing. I remember our conversation. How's it going? You know, like check
Absolutely.
in. And the thing is those people, it may have just been a no for now. They weren't there yet in their own, right? In their own mindset and journey. And like, here you are. Meanwhile, they should be on your email list and you're sending some emails talking about those exact things that came up, and you reach out to them, like they might be ready in 6 months, you know? So just want to say, like, practically speaking, that's all, it's just all, it's all learning. Like you got to give yourself the space to be okay with making mistakes and just learning from them and, you know, implementing little changes here and there to try to address what happens.
Yeah. 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 And we build it right into the sales process. Right. It's like, wow, there's a change in belief here in order to invest at this level for someone who's a perfect fit and will get so much value on the inside. How do we actively adjust our sales process so that that person can relax, see the future they want to experience most, and align their actions with their vision?
Yeah. I have a client who works with people who are in pain and from injury.
Yeah.
And part of his qualification process, so we design a qualification process together. That's part of the sales process. And part of his qualification process asks the prospective client, do you believe that you can heal from this? Like, do you believe that you'll be able to heal this? And it's like such a simple question and yet so powerful.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because it's like, if somebody has tried so many things or for whatever reason doesn't believe it, well, then that's, and I'm talking way beyond, they're not going to become a client, but into, I mean, they very well could, but do you even want to take on a client
Yeah.
who has, you know, doesn't actually believe it? And
Yeah.
it's a real question. It's easy to just go, well, of course I do. But when it's asked to the person, because it's actually done in a little 10-minute phone call, when
Yeah.
it's asked to the person, he has gotten people hesitate, right? And
Yeah.
they kind of
Sure.
start
Sure. Anyone
stumbling.
who's ever faced death in the eyes will
Exactly.
hesitate with that question.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, just a, yeah, powerful kind of direct question on that.
Yeah. Well, and that exactly speaks to like keep editing, keep editing, keep editing your marketing and sales process so that the right people can get to the end result. Right. And that happens through the best offer. And the offer is also edit, edit, edit,
Yep,
edit, edit.
totally. Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Joanna Sapir, I'm glad we had a chance to talk about sales process to wellness pros.
Yeah, me too. I'm really happy to be here and meet you, Kate.